Hello, seamstresses! This is a video guide on sewing a summer dress with straps with an explanation of each step. This dress is perfect for spending warm summer days. With a complete sense of comfort, it was designed especially for this. You can purchase the pattern for this dress in my Etsy shop called Variga Patterns, which I will link below as well. You can also ask me any sewing questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer each of them right away. Enjoy watching, dear. Step 1. Assembling the pattern. To assemble the pattern, first make sure the test square is the correct size. It's located on the first page and is available in both centimeters and inches. When you start assembling the pattern pages, make sure the pattern lines align precisely. Keep in mind that due to printer variations, the corner alignment marks might not always match perfectly, but this won't affect the overall quality of the pattern. Start by laying out all the pages in order. Each row contains 5 sheets. Next, trim the margins of the pages and start gluing the pattern together. Once you've finished assembling the entire pattern, double-check that all the pattern lines align correctly. Then you can start cutting out the individual pattern pieces. Step 2. Cutting from fabric. We begin cutting. First, lay out the fabric in a way that is convenient for you. Make sure that at the places marked fold, the fabric is folded. The word fold on a pattern piece means you need to align the edge with this mark to the fabric folded in half so that when you finish cutting, you can unfold the piece and get a whole piece without a seam. Also, make sure the pieces are cut along the grain line. Each pattern piece has an arrow indicating the direction the piece should be aligned relative to the fabric's grain line. Also, pay attention to the number of pieces indicated on the pattern. This quantity is shown by a label on the pattern. Here's an example of how to cut a piece marked fold. We align the edge marked fold with the fabric fold, resulting in a double piece without a seam. Step 3. Interfacing the dress pieces. First, we need to treat the edges of the pattern pieces with fusible interfacing tape along the grain line and on the bias. It's available in any sewing store, and the treatment is done as shown in the video. Next, we need to interface the front and back pieces using fusible interfacing or non-woven interfacing. The interfacing material is cut using the same pattern as the main fabric and is fused under the heat of an iron. It's best to fuse it with an iron indirectly through a layer of fabric, as shown in the video. Next, trim all excess edges, and the main fabric pieces are ready. Step 4. Making the straps. First, you need to cut out the straps from the fabric according to the pattern. There should be 4 pieces. Next, you need to fold the strap piece in half and press the fold with an iron. Next, from the raw edge of the folded strap, you need to measure 0.7 millimeters to sew a stitch on the sewing machine. This is about 0.028 inches. Next, I recommend you mark the corner as shown in the video. It will also be stitched later. Now we are moving on to stitching the strap. The strap must be stitched along the line you marked. Now we need to turn the strap right side out. The easiest way to do this is with a special strap turning tool, which is also sold in any sewing store. If you don't have such a tool, you can do it with a needle, but it will be more difficult. After turning the strap right side out, it must be pressed with an iron so that the seam is on the side. This is shown in the video. Finished straps should look like this. Also pay attention to the notches. It is very important to transfer them from the pattern to the cut pieces as well as the darts. Don't forget to do this. Step 5. Making the darts. To sew the darts, first you need to fold them as shown in the video, seam to seam, with the fabric between the seams facing the wrong side. Next, the darts need to be pinned. Now we move on to machine sewing. Start stitching the dart from bottom to top and remember to backstitch. Sew over one section at the beginning of the dart back and forth 2 to 3 times. The darts should look like this. Now you need to take scissors and trim the excess fabric on the dart, leaving about 1 centimeter. Now the dart needs to be pressed with an iron so that the dart edges point in opposite directions, as shown in the video. Step 6. Sewing the back and front of the top. You need to lay the back piece onto the front piece, right sides together, as shown in the video. Now, secure the seam area with pins and measure 1 centimeter from the edge for the seam allowance. The piece should look approximately like this before sewing. After stitching, the seam needs to be pressed open. Now you need to pin the straps to the top, as shown in the video. The straps should be pointed downwards. The places where the straps need to be pinned are marked on the pattern with notches. Now you need to measure 0.7 centimeters and mark for the seam. Sew the straps on the machine, remembering to backstitch. Step 7. Gathering the front part of the skirt. Here I am showing directly on the pattern pieces how to mark the stitches that need to be sewn. The first stitch should be sewn 0.7 centimeters from the edge, the second approximately 1.5 centimeters from the edge. These stitches need to be sewn on the right and left parts of the front skirt from notch to notch. The notches are shown on the pattern pieces. On the sewing machine, you need to set the stitch length to about 5 millimeters. This is so you can manually pull the stitch tight with your hands. Start sewing. This time, the back stitch should only be placed on one side, either at the beginning or at the end of the stitch, as shown in the video. The finished stitch should look like this. Now you need to pull the stitch tight so that when the fabric is gathered, the notches align. Try to distribute the gathers evenly with your fingers. Once the gathering is complete, you need to tie a knot at the ends of the thread, as shown in the video. This is to prevent the gathering from unraveling during the sewing process. Step 8. Stitching the back skirt along the center seam. Ensure that you have correctly transferred the zipper end notch to the pattern pieces and reinforce the zipper area with fusible interfacing tape. In general, if you don't have access to fusible interfacing tape, it's not a problem, but I recommend using it. First, you need to finish the edge up to the notch on an overlocker. If you don't have an overlocker, you can use a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine to finish the edge. After finishing, the seam should look like this. Now, we need to place the two back skirt pieces right sides together like this and secure them with a pin at the notch. Next, you need to secure the seam with pins along its entire length and stitch it on the machine. Now, the machine-stitched seam needs to be finished with an overlocker. Next, the sides of the zipper opening need to be pressed open. The skirt seam also needs to be pressed to one side, as shown in the video. The final result should look like this. Step 9. Gathering the back of the skirt. The gathering for the back part of the skirt is the same as for the front part. Here I show how the stitches will run, the first at 0.7 centimeters from the edge, the second at 1.5 centimeters from the edge. You also need to sew a stitch on the machine, leaving a back stitch at the end, and pull it by hand, distributing it evenly with your fingers. Pay close attention to ensure the notches align in the final result. The final result should look like this. Step 10. Stitching the skirt side seams. First, we need to place the front piece and the back pieces right sides together and mark the seam, which has a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now pin it in place as shown in the video. The intermediate result will look like what I'm showing here. Now you need to overlock the seam. The overlock seam should look like this. Don't forget to press the side seam to one side, as shown in the video. Step 11. Joining the skirt and bodice. To join the bodice and skirt, you need to place the bodice onto the skirt, right sides together, as shown in the video. Be sure to align all notches. Next, you need to secure the pieces together with pins along the seam line. Once you are sure that all notches align, you can begin stitching the pieces. Now, after you have sewn the skirt to the bodice, remove the temporary gathering stitches that helped you with the skirt's gathering. Here's how the dress looks now. It's already looking quite good. Now you need to press the seam allowance of the joining seam upwards, towards the bodice side, as shown in the video. Step 12. Zipper. To insert the zipper, first you need to secure the unstitched zipper opening with pins or clips. Now, change the stitch length on your sewing machine to 4 millimeters. Yes, this seam will also be removed in the future. Stitch the unstitched zipper opening, setting in 1.5 centimeters from the edge. Next, you need to press the zipper allowance open. Attach the zipper with pins to the seam allowance as shown in the video. Don't forget to shorten the stitch length to 3.9 millimeters. Now you can remove the temporary stitch as shown in the video. Here I show which presser foot to use for sewing the zipper. You can do this with a regular presser foot, but it is strongly recommended to use a special zipper foot. It will be useful to you many more times in your life. Now you need to sew the zipper as shown in the video. Next, the zipper needs to be pressed with an iron. Look how beautiful this dress looks now. We only have one last step left. We only have 2 steps left. Step 13, facings. First, sew the front and back facings together, remembering to press the seams open. The final result should look like this. Now finish the bottom edge of the facings with an overlocker. Press the facings as shown in the video. Secure the facing to the zipper and sew it on as I show in the video. The result should look like this. Now stitch the facings right sides together to the main dress pieces. Trim the excess seam allowance, leaving 0.5 to 0.7 centimeters. Press the seam allowance as shown in the video. Now you need to top stitch the pressed seam allowance to the main piece from the outside. Stitch 0.1 millimeters from the edge and make sure the stitch is straight. Now press the resulting seam to the inside so that it is not visible from the outside. Now repeat all the same steps for the back facing. In the end, the dress facing should look like this. Finally, secure the result with an iron as shown in the video. Step 14. Hemming. We are moving to the final step, finishing the hem. First, you need to overcast the entire bottom edge with an overlocker. Now, press the seam and fold it in half, as shown in the video. Finish the hem with a narrow, double-fold hem and press it with an iron. Your dress is finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'd love to see your creations, so if you want to share your work, tag me on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram handle in the video description, along with a link where you can find the pattern for this dress. Also, if you have any questions or difficulties, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a great day.